What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Joel Culpepper Outdoors. I'm Joel Culpepper, and thank you so much for the support on the video talking about the consequence and the limbs on it cracking. That it really frustrated me seeing that happen, and like I said, I discovered that Wednesday afternoon, and Thursday through Saturday, Life Outdoors, which is my bow shop, they were closed, and they're always closed Sunday, Monday. So today is Wednesday, so yesterday was the first day that I could actually go by and had them check that out. So I went there yesterday, and I had a couple errands to run in town while I was there. Some plans I'd already made, so I took them the bow and left it with them and said I'll be back, a little bit later. Y'all get with Darton or whatever, and we'll go from there. So wound up, Darton's going to send a new limb. They're not refunding me. Darton isn't, so I didn't figure they would, but I was hoping that would be the case. It was not. So I went ahead and purchased another bow, traded the Darton in, and I don't know if you can read this hat, but that should give you an idea of kind of what we got going on. So just to break it down a little bit, so I think I did this in my Phase 4 video too. I shot several different bows. I shot the Bowtech Core SS, the Bowtech SS34, the new lift, and then the bow that I wound up getting. So that should tell you I didn't get any one of those three. I went into Life Outdoors really expecting to buy the Core SS from Bowtech. That was the number one thing in my mind walking in there. That's the bow that I probably want to get. But when I started, when I shot it the first time, it just didn't feel right to me. The SS34 felt really, really good, but it just wasn't quite what I was looking for. And what really hurts that bow, in my opinion, it's a phenomenal bow. It's a phenomenal shooting bow, but it has one major flaw that pretty much all its competitors don't have, and that's the integrated sights. And I know that's not a big deal, but that's something that I like. I like having the integration of everything into the middle of the bow, which is why part of the reason I really like Mathews. And Bowtech, the new Core series, actually has that, which is why I went in there really thinking the Core SS was going to be the bow for me, but it wasn't. The SS34 just didn't feel quite right to me. I loved the string angle on it. So it being a 34-inch axle, when I'm used to a 33, it was a very good string angle for me, but I wound up it just didn't click with me. And then I shot the lift, and that bow just didn't click with me either. So they had the bow that I wound up getting, which is a Mathews, and I bought this hat separate, so this was not a new bow. But they had this Mathews in there for sale, and I just happened to shoot it, used bow, and it was the one that felt the best to me, so that's what I got. So, without further ado, I will introduce you guys to my new Mathews V3X 33. Now, this bow already had the integrate rest. It had the Mathews quiver. This is the old style, but that was on there too. I think they call that the arrow web, if I'm not mistaken. And it has a brand new set of gas bowstrings. on it, and this is a red and gray string. So we tied a red and black D-loop on here. Took the dampeners off of the darting and put them on this bow. Just give it a little bit more weight. I've got the 15-inch Control Freak from Conquest on the front. That's the stabilizer I had on the Consequence. And then I put a back bar on here. I think this is a 10-inch. I've also got a 12-inch stabilizer just in case I want to play around with some of that. The reason I did that, I wanted to run a back bar, and it was just a little bit more to actually get the kit with 2 stabilizers and then the mount. And then you've got the quick disconnects you got a quick disconnect on for the front too. So it wound up being about the same, and I have an extra stabilizer now, which, I mean, that might not be worth much, but, you know, I always got something that I can play around with. The sight, I just took the CBE Tactic Hybrid off of the Consequence and put it on this bow. My plan is to get a B3 Exact Hunter competition to put on this, a single pin. I'm gonna probably put a lens in it and then put a target peep with a clarifier in there. So that should tell you the end goal for this bow. This is going to be my target bow. So, well, I reckon I better show you this too. We got the limb legs on this, and these legs will fit the Phase 4 as well. So that's another really good thing about having 2 bows that are so similar. You know, the Phase 4, now the V3X. Most of the stuff on them is very similar. The draw cycle is pretty much the same. I don't think there's any real difference in that. Of course, the Phase 4 is going to have the bridge lock stabilizer, and it's going to have 4 limbs on each cam instead of 2. But this is a target bow, so I'm not too concerned about how loud it is. And like I said, I've got these dampeners in there too. Took the monkey tails off of the dart and put them on here too. I might eventually take those off. I may take the dampeners off too. I don't know. So now I'm kind of getting in this whole new world of target archery. So I posted about the 3D shoot that I did about a month and a half ago. I did a 3-spot Vegas shoot, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. And all that was with the Phase 4. So the Phase 4 was at 70 pounds at the 3D shoot, and it was 75 at the Vegas shoot. And that wasn't fun. 75 pounds with those Victory Rips, those 5mm arrows. They were really burying into the target. But that, I mean, it is what it is. So this is going to be the target bow. I'm not going to build it out as a target bow quite yet, not 100%. Of course, we got the back bars, or we got one back bar. Which I guess that's really the only thing that's more target oriented on this bow right now. But the end result is to have this set up for target. So it is 29.5-inch draw, so same draw length as the Phase 4. This one's going to be 70 pounds. And I was going to go to about 60 for my target setup until I started talking to Jeremy. And he actually shoots 70. And he said the reason he does that is because that's all he's ever shot, and he's the most comfortable shooting that weight. So he just kind of builds an arrow that will get him to the desired, the speed that he needs to be at. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm just going to shoot it at 70. I like 70 pounds. To me, it just feels better to shoot 70 pounds. But like I said, that's just me. So I went ahead and bought some more arrows too. And these are Gold Tip Hunter XTs. 340 spine. If you guys watch my arrow video, you know that these are some of my favorite standard diameter shafts. So I think these are 245 or 246 standard diameter. And we've got a different fletch running on these. We've got the AAE Max Stealths, which is what was on my original Hunter XTs that I showed in that arrow video. These are 2.6 inch. I don't know exactly what they call this color, but it actually looks pretty cool. We're just doing a standard 3 fletch left helical, and nothing real fancy on these. One of the big reasons that I went with these, other than these are, in my opinion, probably the best standard diameter shafts that you can get, especially for the price. These are 110 bucks a dozen, so less than $10 per shaft. The big reason I went with these, other than they just fly really good, is I'm going to take a trip to TAC this year, or hopefully we're going to take a trip out to TAC. Me and a couple other guys TAC in Dahlonega, Georgia this year. And you want something like this, something that flies really good, but isn't really expensive, just in case you shoot into a rock or something like that, which is bound to happen at TAC. So this is actually, the V3X is going to be my TAC bow as well, at least for this year. If I do wind up going back to another one next year, if this is a total target setup, it probably will not go to TAC with me. I'll probably take the Phase 4, but that'll be okay. I'll probably have another dozen arrows for the Phase 4 at that point. My plan is to have 2 dozen of these when I go to TAC, and probably if I go next year, same thing, probably have 2 dozen of the Victory Rips for the Phase 4. And those aren't real expensive either. Of course, they are the 6,000 straightness, but I haven't noticed that being an issue. But they are $110 a dozen too. So same price as these, just these are a little bit bigger. So I figure these will be better, or I know these will be better at catching lines and stuff, shooting at the 3D stuff. Probably won't do any more Vegas this year, but for the 3D stuff, this will be a better arrow for, like I say, catching those lines and all that. So the reason I did the Max Stealths, like I said, that's what is actually on my other Hunter XTs, and I really like those. That was a 4 fletch on those arrows, but this isn't. I mean, I haven't noticed them flying any different. Out about 40, 45 yards is all I've shot this bow at so far. So they fly really good. And I just really like the Max Stealths. That's my opinion. I like the Max Stealths. I prefer these over the TAC vanes. Again, that's a personal preference. I'm not saying they're better. I'm not saying the TAC vanes are worse. It's just my personal preference. I like the Max Stealths. And I can still use, or I'm using the TAC primer pen and the TAC glue on there, and they're holding fine. So that's that's good. That's real good. And I like the way that these arrows turned out. I was kind of concerned about putting the yellow on the Hunter XTs, but it turned out pretty good. So I think this is the last thing. I feel like it's not, because of the amount of money that I actually spent yesterday. But I think this is probably the last thing that I actually did get. So this is a Stan Onyx back tension release. I've got the 4-finger on here right now. It does have an adapter, so I could run it as a 3-finger if I wanted to, but I like the feel of it with 4. And this is a true back tension release. And what that means, for those of you who don't know, is that when you draw your bow back, you have to have your thumb pulling this thing down. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but you have to hold that down, and then you pull back, anchor in, and then you can let go, and you start pushing with your bow arm and pulling with your release hand until it goes off. So I really like this. This is probably not something I would really want to hunt with, but for shooting at the targets and stuff, it's really nice for shot training. It's a surprise shot, which I always try for a surprise shot, even with the wrist index finger release, like the Scott Recon that I'm shooting right now. And of course, I've shot the Wildcat 2 from Scott in the past, but this is just something I really like the idea of handheld releases, but I couldn't ever find one that really fit me well. So that's one thing I really like about this one. So this is a large, and I'm not going to say I have real big hands, but I have kind of fat hands, and a standard release, like I guess you would say a medium, is just too small for my hands, and I always feel like my hands are getting pressed in those other releases. But this being a large, it fits my hand really well. I would even take a step up to an extra large at some point. Maybe not, but that might be something that I'll look into for the future. But like I said, this being that tension style, as long as I've got my thumb on this release can't go off no matter how hard I pull. But as soon as that comes off, we push and pull, and the shot breaks. So this is adjustable. This little silver, I don't even know what they call it, something about the tension screw or something. I did have to play with this some yesterday. I think I've got it set pretty much where I want it. Of course, you can also there's 2 screws up here that you can take and loosen and move your thumb barrel position, this way or that way. And there's another screw in the bottom of this, so you can actually twist the barrel, to make it go like this or like this, if that makes any sense. And this little silver piece right here, you can actually take this and screw it in to the top of the I don't know what you call that, the hinge or whatever. And that way you can actually clip this on your bow and then pull back, and you let go and you push and pull. You hear the click, but it didn't actually fire. So that's something nice too for, again, just kind of shot training. You shot train without your bow actually going off. I've tried it some. It actually does work. So let's see. And like I said, as long as your thumb is on this, it'll never go off. So if you didn't trust this little piece right here to do its job, if you want to draw it back and just let it down, just keep your thumb wrapped around there. But you can just take it, pull back, anchor in. There it goes. So I'm still getting used to this style of release, so my shots are a little inconsistent, but I think in the long run it's going to help me to learn how to shoot with the back tension release. And I like this back tension better than a hinge, just because the hinge, if you rotate it too much, I reckon too much, I don't even reckon too much this way while you're drawing back, it's going to go off. And the thumb pegs on those hinges are generally too small for me. So when I tried to shoot the Ultra View hinge, not the hinge 2, the hinge 1, the thumb peg, the factory thumb peg on it was so small, I couldn't get my fingers in the release. You know, it's a 3-finger, so like this, and then wrap my thumb around that peg because my fingers are just too big. And that was really frustrating. And on the thumb button, I shot one just testing some releases because I had to buy a new one, and that's when I bought the Scott Recon. But I shot a B3 exit, I think is what they call it, which is a 3-finger, and it's a big 3-finger, so it fit my hand good. But it seemed to me like when I drew my bow back, all the pressure was placed on my pointer finger, which was not comfortable to me, and I just didn't like how that one felt. But this one really distributes that weight through my hand, so it doesn't feel like any one of my fingers is carrying more of the weight than the others. So I may have to set this a little bit colder just to to get exactly where I want to be. I like it where it's at right now, but there again, I'm coming from a bow hunter's perspective, not a target archer's perspective. So the plan is to get better and better at shooting the more target-oriented side of archery versus the bow hunting side. I shoot a hunting bow very well, but I've never really shot a target bow before, so this is my first experience. And I know this is not a true target bow. This is not a Mathews V3X or a Bowtech Reckoning Gen 2 or whatever. But to me, for the price I got it for and everything and how it's set up, it's going to function the same. It is probably not, it may not shoot the same as an actual target bow, but this is kind of bridging the gap coming from what I'm used to in the hunting bows, going into something I don't know really anything about, which is target archery. So having something like the V3X33, which is a hunting bow, as a target setup, I think is going to help me kind of bridge the gap. And then later I'll probably get something like a Mathews title in a few years if I really decide that I really enjoy the target archery. And I really enjoy 3D. The Vegas stuff is okay. It's not my favorite. The Vegas shoot I did do was a fundraiser for the local 4-H, so that was part of the reason I went to do that. So I'm very likely going to do that again next year. Not necessarily for me, but, you know, to help them raise some money for those kids. And I think that's about it. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I believe I said that in the start of this video. I really feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't know what I'm forgetting. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right there. I hope this video wasn't too long. And I hope that I've kind of answered any questions or anything. If you do have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section down below. I try to answer all of the comments that I get. I really make an effort to try to do that. I appreciate each and every comment. So let me know what you think about this. Do you think this was a good decision, or do you think I should have done something different? I mean, if you think I should have done something different, it doesn't matter. I've already bought this bow, so and I really like it, so it's not going back right now. Fun fact: the Phase 4 is actually at the shop right now, getting the serving on the cables So this serving right here and this serving right here redone because I shoot so much that I pretty much wore through all the serving. So yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't happen to this bow, which is another thing I'm excited about testing these gas strings. Everyone says that they're really good. So we're going to shoot them and shoot them and shoot them and shoot them and see how good they actually are compared to the factory zebra strings that are on the Phase 4. And I'll probably put a set of custom strings on the Phase 4 before deer season. I may not, but I don't want to get into deer season and then have to put a new string on it, because then no matter what, this will have to be my hunting bow for a couple weeks while the new string gets made. But the Phase 4 is I'm probably going to put a string, a Life Outdoors string on there. So they custom make, their strings in-house, which I think they use X99 material or something like that. It's something like it, some type of a string material. It's a 99. And this is the BCY 452X, I think is what they call it. But that's kind of a standard string material, the 452X. So I want to try, I want to compare a Life Outdoors custom string to the gas strings and see how that goes. So anyways, let me know what you guys think about this. If this is something you think this was a good idea, you think it was a bad idea. Do you like the new bow? Do you not like the new bow? If you don't like it, I'm sorry, I do. So as long as this one keeps doing what it's doing now, I'm very pleased with it. So I have no issues trading the Darton out for this. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off right there. Y'all stay safe, stay in the outdoors. God bless you, and I'll catch you on the next one.